Yeah, everybody, welcome to eChannel News. We've got Stacy Hayes again for our 2024 predictions. Kind of early-ish, but never too early to make predictions for 2024. He's the co-founder and EVP of Americas for Assured Data Protection. And last year we chatted with him about the role of CISOs in 2023 and how things were there. We'll talk about those predictions and see how many of those came through first, and then we'll get into 2024. Stacy, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and Julian, thanks for having me. It's always it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
You and I get to have this conversation year after year. That means we've been here for a little while, and if I'm running the business based on my predictions, then maybe I'm getting some of them right.
Well, at the same time, we'll be here again for 2024, and at least we survived one more year, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So Stacy, let's just, so for everybody who don't understand or don't know Assured Data Protection, just give us the quick 1-minute overview of the company itself.
Absolutely. So we're our role in this world is pretty simple. We deliver a managed data protection solution. We operationalize that solution and deliver it as a managed service. So that consists of both on-prem, on customer premises, regardless of wherever the customer is. They might be in a physical location. More and more frequently, we now find customers in the process of migrating into the public cloud. They may be leveraging SaaS applications like M365 or Salesforce.com. Whatever the customer's data may be, we deliver a managed service that protects that data, both where it resides, and then we get it back to centralized locations. We have 7 all around the globe, 3 here in the United States, 3 in Europe, and 1 in Asia, where we provide second site redundancy, and we also provide disaster recovery. So we have the ability to then bring that data back up into a usable format, present it back to the customer in the event of something catastrophic happening on wherever their primary data site was.
And in case everybody's living under a rock, it's about the data, right? If you can protect the data and spin it back up, you're kind of good to go, right?
Absolutely. It is, it is the currency
Yeah.
of business today. I mean, we see frequently, and I know we're here to talk about predictions, and we can talk about, I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about what we talked about in 23 and what we talked about before. But what we find most frequently these days is a customer that's been hit with ransomware, and even when the technology has protected the data, you got to have somewhere to recover it. And so having data mobility, having that data in a second environment where it's in effect a clean room, where all of your infrastructure requirements are not only known but pre-spec'd and regularly tested, is critical to business continuity. And it all starts with the data. So that access to customers' data mobility. If you don't have it, you're not in business.
Yeah, it's the ultimate protection because spinning back up on the same server farm, right, that's been hit. You don't know what's lurking in that stuff, right? So you really can't just you need to have a clean room, as you put it. I would call it an air gap type gig. So at least you've got a place to go back to in case what hits the fan. But let's double click on 2023 first. So what were the predictions that you made, and what you thought came through, and what you were surprised it didn't come through?
Well, I think the one that we really were talking about, Julian, a year ago was the emergence of the CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer, in an area that they hadn't typically participated in prior, and that was in the infrastructure and information technology proper. And that prediction is definitely coming true. When we are interfacing with either our existing customers or our new prospects, the CISO, that function, is very interested in the concept of immutability, and that is a third-party technology's ability to protect the primary data and its associated versions from infection, from malware or ransomware. Whereas 18 months ago, a year ago, That was just starting. Now we're starting to see the presence of these IT security checklists that we have to adhere to and answer to going through the competitive process of winning new business.
Yeah, that CISO role is just sort of becoming, fundamental now, right? I mean, there's that. There's also, privacy officers now that seems to be popping up, compliance officers that seems to be popping up. So it's all sort of circling, right? This area of cybersecurity protection and compliance issues and regulations and so on. How do you see the CISO role? How much of it has it expanded in 2024, 2023?
Well, it's not only showing up inside of IT, but the other place, the other vectors that we see emerging are both vertical and horizontal, I guess is the right way to say it. Vertical in that now boards of directors are looking for proof and documented evidence that the IT department has a functioning disaster recovery program, that they have drilled it, and the results of that drill are documented and memorialized. So that's that vertical, the vertical path, that level of interest that is coming from the very top of corporate leadership, so a board of directors, and they're often originating that request with the CISO, the CISO, as opposed to the CIO. The horizontal angle that we've noticed in the last, these last recent times is third-party compliance organizations. A great example is cyber insurance. So cyber insurance used to be some fairly rudimentary, check boxes around, physical infrastructure security, and are you using encryption, and, kind of the easy stuff. Mm. Now it is much more in depth, and people, if they don't have the right answers, are either in many instances being denied access to cyber insurance altogether. If they can get it, their rates are much inflated. And those questionnaires, very specifically, do you have data protection that is immutable? Is there third-party attestation that you have this type of protection? Give us documented evidence that that you do have data in an offsite location, that you do have access to a clean room, that you have drilled these functions in these facilities, and produce evidence that that they were successful. And so we see it, in both angles. We see third parties, we see third-party compliance audits, in addition to the cyber insurance industry starting to make these requests to get this information, and we also see a heightened level of interest from the C-suite. Whereas before it was, IT was going to do what IT did. It was more about uptime and website availability and transactional statistics. Now the focus has shifted more to risk and liability.
Yeah, as it should. I mean, it's kind of about time, in a way. But by the way, Stacy, how do you guys protect the clean room version of the data, right, from being corrupted by bad actors dropping in sleeper type problems, and so it just corrupts, right, the data after you back it up? But do you have some kind of a filter situation that blocks these things from happening, and how do you prevent that from being corrupted?
Julian, I'd like to tell you that it's all our secret sauce and all our smarts, but what we really do in this situation is have a great partner. The OEM that we leverage to create the data protection that we deliver as a service comes from a company called Rubrik, and I'm sure your listeners, and I'm sure yourself are very familiar with Rubrik. And so what Rubrik has done over the last really 4 or 5 years, 5, 6 years, which is kind of surprising, because you and I have been doing this a long time, and we weren't talking this much about malware and ransomware 5-6 years ago. Rubrik was ahead of the game, and kind of was building from the ground floor up a technology that not only had this ability to stop someone from infecting the protected data, immutability, as a part of its core offering, but had also created a series of tools that they bring to the market that are expressly utilized to identify and quarantine and remediate the presence of ransomware in the backed up materials. A lot of these attacks, the bad actors are resident inside of the companies for weeks, if not months, in advance of the attack. And what's really important there is not only the tools that help us identify where those clean copies are so that we do not recover infected data and therefore reinfect the clean room. Rubrik has great tools there. They have a great tool called Threat Hunter that allows us to load in industry-based YARA rules and search all the data for either known or specific signatures of ransomware and malware once the attacker is known, and help us identify clean data versus infected data and only recover it. But the other thing that Rubrik provides the customer before we're even talking about having to recover in the clean room is notification of the presence of these known bad actors in the materials before we actually see a launch of the actual attack. And there, Rubrik's sensitive data discovery and its malware detection capabilities give customers, even though data protection, it tends to be viewed as that last line of defense, it gives them an offensive capability to detect the presence of bad code, malicious code in a non-production environment, and alert the customer in advance of those attacks, and hopefully avoid a situation where they have to be thinking about recovering in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, that's important too, because hey, if the bad actors are getting in there and monkeying around, right, for months, right, regardless if they ask you for a ransom or not, your breach may even be worse than being, asked for a breach up front, right? Because they're pulling data out, they're doing lots of crazy stuff. So you definitely got to make sure you're monitoring if things are happening that's weird. And when things do happen and you do have to recover, well, it's obvious that you need to recover a clean batch of data, right? And also you said quite a few times, and I don't want to harp on it too much, but you got to test this stuff out, right? It's not like you just kind of have it there and then hope that you're gonna, press that recovery button when you really need it to recover, then find out that it doesn't work, right? A lot of people don't really test their backup, their VDR, right? Are you seeing that's is that important?
It's massively important. It's like anything else in this world. It's like an athlete. It's like the analogy that I love to use is that I started my career as a naval officer, and I was on a Navy ship for 3 years. And one of my many jobs as an officer on that ship was I ran the damage control training team, and we did a drill every day of the week. It didn't matter, Christmas Day, a Saturday, Thanksgiving Day. You ran a DR drill, and the guys would always come up and go, "Why do we have to run this drill today? It's Christmas. Why can't we just take a day off?" And the fact of the matter is that you can't ever drill too much. And if you're protecting, your very house, the thing under which your feet stand on, you've got to know without a shadow of a doubt exactly what to do in a crisis situation. And that's why drilling is so important. And that's why we put such emphasis on that here at Assured Data Protection. When we actually give our customers, so any customer that signs up for DR as a service actually gets 2 drills per year for a period of up to 6 days, we suspend the consumption cost of resources, pull the customer up in a bubble, don't have to do any re-IPing, and give the customer full access to that environment for the purposes of user testing, performance testing, what have you. Effectively, those drills are free. And why do we do that? Well, we do that to take away any objection to doing the drills, because even when they're free, they take that most precious of commodity, time, in order to make sure that that things work. The customer has to spend time bringing up their VMs and bringing and spinning them up in the environment and testing. And so there's an investment of time. And so we do everything we can do to eliminate that as a part of the service. But then what we found is that we have the ability to go even one step further. So much of these drills, and the way these drills works is that there is a high level of automation that is associated with the declaration of an emergency. The idea is that once an emergency is declared, everything that is possible can be brought up in an automated fashion up to the point that you need human interaction. So what we now do is we take that automation, and 4 times a year, independent of the actual drills, we test the automation. What does that mean? What we're doing is we're basically triggering the automation in a manner which it does not redo the recovery, but it checks the recovery. It goes through and says, here are the virtual machines that I know I need in order to affect this runbook. Are they all still there? And are they current? If any of them are missing, it's going to alert. If there's new VMs alongside of the old VMs, it will alert and say, are these VMs critical and do they need to be included? It does the same thing for networks, because recovery of virtual machines is kind of the easy thing in this business. It is the networks. It is allowing the users, the end users of the applications, to find those applications when they're not where they used to be. And so in addition to checking the VMs, we check the networks. And it's all with an eye towards ensuring that, as you said, when the button gets mashed, you're not betting on hope to see if that recovery can actually become a real thing and be available to the end users.
No doubt. Great stuff, man, because at the end of the day, apparently the bad actors don't wait for the most convenient times. Seems to me that they're always at 5 o'clock, 5:30, and Fridays is when they all get up and they start to create havoc. But let's jump a little bit over to the predictions for 2024, Stacy. What are you seeing 2024?
What we're seeing is a expansion of MSP adoption in the marketplace, and I think that's going to continue. And here's why. MSP thrives in a down economy, and the economic news, the disruption, that we find, there's just a tremendous amount of trepidation in the mentality, of the IT consumer today, and that could be attributed to, I don't know, we have 2 major wars going on in the globe today. In addition to all the other upheaval that we have, we still have, pandemic concerns. COVID still raises its head. The economic picture, a lot of the key economic indicators still are pointing in troublesome areas. It's kind of amazing that we are concerned about the economy as we seem to be, yet the economy is doing as well as it is. And I think all of that causes additional concern. And in those situations, consumption via MSP, as opposed to which is predominantly an operational expense, is much more attractive than a large capital expense. Customers are going to continue to adopt MSP, both for an economic reason, because OpEx is preferable to CapEx, The second reason that we're going to see that expand is because of the constant pressure that is on the IT department to do more with less. This function continues to be a function that is very critical as it relates to business continuity, but it has next to nothing to do with the execution of whatever the company's day-to-day activities are. The analogy is a law firm. Having great data protection doesn't make your lawyers better lawyers, but if you don't have any data, your lawyers can't be lawyers. And so it is a business function that is high on the list of criticality and not critical to the actual delivery of whatever the business's services may be. It may be retail, it may be CPG, it may be manufacturing, it may be healthcare, it may be state and local, or education. And so for those reasons, with that pressure on those IT departments to continue to do less, they're going to look to outsource those functions into the hands of specialists. It is our responsibility to deliver an economy of scale that basically says, look, I can deliver you a much better quality of level of service than you could because I focus on what I'm doing and because you are responsible for many things. Because of my growth, my size, my purchasing power, I've got the ability to drive that per unit consumption cost down low enough to where it's not only a better level of quality, but it is at an advantageous level of economic consumption that is compatible with do-it-yourself or do-it-yourself with a CapEx model.
Yeah. So again, we look like the MSP community is safe and healthy moving forward, and get into a lot of economic sort of like rabbit holes, right? But it's unusual what's happening in the world today with economies and interest rates and very inflation and things like this, and who knows what the real core is what's happening, because it seems like employment's way down. If you want a job, there's an opportunity, even though we see a lot of layoffs happening. So there's a little confusion happening right now, but it just seems like companies are sort of making sure they, double check that they're actually not spending more than they should, right? Do they really need that or this? What makes sense? So it's a great message for them to go to their customers with in these sort of uncertain times. How are you seeing things like AI impacting? We've just had a bit of a year of AI madness. How is that impacting what's happening in your world?
I think like with many things, Julian, I think you and I need to, I always try to keep these chats non-political. And I suppose my feeling here isn't so much political as it is topical. I think there is a lot of fear in the market about AI, and undoubtedly some of it is founded, well-founded. However, I personally have a fairly positive outlook on AI because it's very helpful in my business. It's AI. If you think about what we just talked about, you think about the automation of disaster recovery, and so much of that is based on scripts. The ability to free up my engineers from the mundane script writing functions so that they can work on the harder problems. If you think about what my world looks like, all IT departments are complex, and that complexity is increasing, not decreasing. And so, a lot of my customers require third-party outside feeds. Once we bring that infrastructure up, they're pulling in data from another third party, and so not only does that infrastructure have to come up in this remote location, but that feed has that financial feed or that retail servicing feed or whatnot has to make its way into this environment. And how do you do that? And how do you not let things get out of sync? These are the hard problems that my engineering staff needs to focus on. If they are relieved of the mundane functions of, basically something like, script writing, code writing to support the disaster recovery, it makes them more efficient. It allows me to deliver a much more cost-effective solution to my customer quicker. I mean, that's what my customers want. They're like, look, it needs to be affordable and it needs to be quick. And AI helps us do that. I think, I'm a small microcosm of that. I mean, that's how it's impacted my particular business. But I think, in the world of software in general, my feeling about AI is that it effectively will up our game. It's going to give us the ability to innovate against the harder challenges faster, because that common intellect is going to be able to outsource a lot of the things that just took up time. For all that AI is and all that AI isn't, it can't affect the number of hours that are in the day. There's still
No doubt.
24, there's always going to be 24. And so the ability, giving society the ability to do more with less, I think there is a lot of good attributes to that. I think those have to be weighed against the bad. And I think 2024 will be a big year about AI. We'll undoubtedly be sitting here 12 months from now, and you'll be reminding me what I said about AI. Let's see how that works out.
I think you're on point. It's AI is going to do a lot of heavy lifting, and that heavy lifting is going to alleviate challenges, right, for humans. It's all the unknowns we don't know about, but we're living in this world right now, and we can't put it back into the into the box, right? It's out, and therefore we have to live with it and figure out how to work with it. I'll leave you with the last word, Stacy. What anything that you're surprised about, that you see that we should at least be keeping an eye on for 2024 that we may not know about?
I tell you, the thing that surprises me, Julian, is really the amount of layoffs that we've seen in big technology. I'm surprised by that. I'll tell you that as not a big technology company, I see that as an opportunity. We see more talent in the market now than we've ever seen. In the 7 years since I've ran this business, and I'll tell you, 2017 and 18, it was really difficult to find good talent, good available talent in the business. I'm surprised. We've just seen quite honestly a flood of amazing people out of VMware as a byproduct of the merger, that to me surprises me. And I think that is, we use this, there's a phrase, reallocation of wealth. I think if data is the new oil, real true wealth is talent. And so I think it's going to be really interesting to see what the emerging markets do with this level of talent that is flowing out of some of these larger firms, and how that's going to manifest itself, whether it be new businesses showing up, new businesses going public, or just how that segment of the market looks financially from a market share perspective in the next 12 months.
Yeah, they're lost, your gain. The reality is good talent just doesn't go away. It finds a home no matter where it is, right? And people are, doing things by the numbers, and that could be good, could be bad. One moronic CEO coming out of Australia got videotaped saying that we need to have unemployment rates raised because we need to show the employees that literally who's boss, and you can't be dictating to us what your terms and conditions are. You know, you work for us, you need to be glad and happy and grovel to the fact that you have a job. I think he forgot to read the memo that humans are no longer playing that game. I really want to know where that guy is going to end up being. But this is the mindset that some folks have. And reality is that the human resource is the human resource, and that's just not going to change. But looks like you're moving in the right direction, my friend. And of all the times that it was important, now is a great time when protecting your data is critical, as obvious, but also doing it in a better, faster, more predictable, sustainable, better performance, cheaper way are all the check marks, right? That humans are thinking about these days, right? Like, man, do I really need doing it this way forever, or can I do it in a better way, right? And sometimes channel partners, they stick to what they know or what's been implemented. And I would encourage them to, think out of the box a little bit, not because you've already got that checked off, you should just leave it, right? Review it, look at it. Maybe there's a better way to help your customers. So keep on thinking, my friend. I'll leave you with the last word. Anything else you want to say before we jump off here, Stacy?
Yeah, I think I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder. Our boots on the ground are our channel partners. I mean, they're the ones that have the relationships with the customers. I am an OEM of service. And so my route to market, my path to my end user is through my channel partners. And they're the people that have their finger on the pulse, not only of what is keeping the customer up at night, what their needs are, what they need, and what their demands are. But then also they're the trusted advisors. They're the ones, because the end user customer has got a business to run. And so they're looking to their primary partners to give them advice. What do I do here? I don't know who these people are. Am I protected? There's all these myriad of products out here. Do I have the right mix? It is the partner is the trusted advisor that guides the customer to services like mine. And that's the most, my people are the most important thing. We've hit on the two most important things: human capital. I believe that if you take care of your people take care of your customers. I live by that simple rule here. And so you're our CEO in Australia. I'm worried about his future. I'm worried about his business future. And our path to the partner, our path to the end user is through the partner. And so our people and our partners, you take care of your people and your partners, everything else will take care of itself.
No doubt, man. My formula is, happy employees equals happy customers. So it's pretty straightforward. Basics always rule. Stacy, it's always a pleasure. We don't have to wait another year, but keep us posted as things are coming up, and we'll monitor how things are happening. And by the way, website for them to learn more about your services is what?
Assured, ASSURED -DP deltapapa.com.
There you go. Delta Papa. Love it. All right. Take care, Stacy. Always a pleasure. We'll do this again. Take care. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Honored to be on the show.
My pleasure. Cheers.